Why might you need funding for your idea? Let's be honest, at some point it's likely you're going to need at least some money to make your creative idea happen. It might be to pay for space, equipment, or maybe you just want to pay yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. The idea of funding can be a bit overwhelming and it's hard to know where to start. I'd say that you need to write a budget and have a really clear understanding about how much money you're going to need for your project and exactly what you're going to spend money on. For me, I'd say at least 50% of the time is working out exactly what the project is before getting down to writing out an application. I'd say the total amount you need feels like a lot. It might help to break it into smaller pots when you might fundraise for each of those in a different way. For example, if I needed to raise £5,000 for a project, it might help me to think about that into smaller chunks. £1,000 for equipment, say, or £1,000 to pay for a venue hire. And then I can think of different ways to fundraise for those different elements of a project. So breaking it down into smaller pieces can help a lot. And don't forget to ask for deals, for discounts, ask around. It's amazing how much you can get things for discounted or for less, or people that want to help and support. So I would definitely suggest looking at that as well before you even start making any sort of funding application. Generally, to fund for an idea, I'd say there's three main ways of fundraising. Number one is a loan. That could be informally with family or friends, or it could be from a bank. A loan means you can borrow the money and you pay it back over time, normally with interest. So obviously you're paying back more than you borrowed. But it's a good idea if you've got a real commercial project with a clear business plan and a way to raise that money back. Number two is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding could be donations from the public, from existing or from future customers. You can also run sort of pay it forward schemes, which I think work quite well. So for example, maybe you want to produce an album and you could get your audience to buy the album in advance to help fundraise you recording it. And that pre-sales is a great form of crowdfunding too. The downside is that I'd say you really need to have a sort of following already built in for people to be able to back you. People are less likely to back something that they've never heard of before. The third way you can raise money is through grants. Grants are normally given to not-for-profit organisations like charities. You don't have to pay grants back, they're money that's given to you to deliver a project. How the money is to be spent is normally much more stipulated than in a loan, and they're a very competitive process. You're competing with other people for those money. Although a lot of grants are primarily for charities, there are grants around for individuals too. For example, Arts Council England run a scheme called Developing Your Own Creative Practice. And I'd also recommend organisations like the Prince's Trust, and on the Isle of Wight we have the Mike Howley Trust, and Brave Island itself, which runs different grant programmes, which can be a great way to get some money if you're an individual rather than an organisation applying for money. If you're ever writing a grant application, it's worth mentioning support in kind. What do we mean by that? Well, support in kind is a term we use to explain things that are given to us for free. For example, people volunteering their time. That could be a mate, could be a friend. That has value and you can add that into an application. It shows to the grant provider that their money is going to go further if they know that you've got additional people supporting you in kind. It might also be somebody giving you a space to film for free, or it might be somebody donating their camera for you to use, for example. You can add a value to that, and that's what we mean when we say support in kind. Top tips when writing a funding application. Number one, research about the funder and make sure their values align with yours. It's no good applying to a foundation that supports animal welfare for your project about opening a jewellery shop. So make sure you understand the funder that you're applying to. Number two, most grants have deadlines. Don't miss them. Apply in plenty of time before you need the money. Most funders will tell you on their website clearly how long it will take them to make a decision. Make sure you don't need to start before that time. Number three, be really clear about your idea. Remember, the person reading your application doesn't know you and can't see into your mind, and they don't know about the context of where you are. You need to really clearly explain what your project is and what outcome it will have. Number four, make sure you explain not just what you will do with money, but also how it will benefit people. What will be the impacts of the work? A lot of the times when people are applying for funding, they'll explain what they're going to do, but not how it's going to impact anybody or what difference it's going to make. Number five, don't feel guilty about applying for funding. This is a big thing that I definitely felt when I first applied for any sort of funding. If your idea aligns with the funder's objectives, then remember that money is to help people like you. It's going to be spent anyway. It's just going to go to someone else if you don't apply. A good example on the island is the Mike Howley Trust, that's specifically offering grants of up to £1,500 for 18 to 30-year-olds wanting to pursue a creative career on the Isle of Wight. If you fit that criteria, then you definitely need to apply. If you don't, someone else will. You've got nothing to lose.